Morbid Sleep here, repping all the Abrahamic religions. So the question of today is, can religious people enjoy metal music? Most Western metal genres are famously blasphemous, and as I've said many times before in my black metal and spirituality videos, several genres actually explicitly oppose most organized religions, most notably Christianity, but also Islam and Judaism. Of course, in the United States, there's actually a whole genre called Christian metal, and there's the Christian version of black metal, which is white metal, I believe. But where precisely do religious people draw the line when it comes to art? Well, I think most of my viewers are wise enough to know that that question has as many answers as there are religious people. In the United States, for example, there's definitely a very loud community of self-identified Christians who very clearly draw the line way before metal music. On the more extreme end of that, you'll get your pro-life, homophobic, fun-hating type of Christian. These are the type who won't swear, won't listen to modern pop music that has cuss words in it, and they're definitely the group of extremists who will say things like Marilyn Manson is the one and only cause of school shooting in the United States. And yet, in other predominantly Christian countries, like Germany, music as extreme as Marilyn Manson and Rammstein are played on the public pop radio. In Germany, religious Christian extremists, I don't really mean like super extreme, but people who their religion sort of defines them, I guess, are usually older people. So as the years go by, there are fewer and fewer people who identify as Christian and oppose things like Marilyn Manson and Rammstein. So it would seem that Germans are far less concerned about blasphemous lyrics and devilish chord progressions. This shows us that it isn't the religion itself that inherently opposes metal music. Nothing in the teachings would suggest that its faithful adherents shouldn't be enjoying the creative output of infidels, atheists, Gentiles, and even pagans, or Satanists. Rather, it is the local moral culture and individual interpretations of holy books such as the Hadith, the Quran, the Torah, the Talmud, etc., which actually dictate what is or is not considered sinful and immoral for the faithful. In Christianity, theologians and other religious scholars have been debating the morality of non-religious artwork since pretty much the founding of Christianity. In medieval England, for example, secular poetry was actually very disdained. The clergy at this time believed that anything that wasn't directly related to God and his praises was vulgar and frankly boring, in line, of course, with the sentiment of the time that the only way to gain fulfillment and purpose in life was by worshipping the Creator and the Creator's works. Therefore, in medieval Christian England, anything other than American Christian metal would certainly have been unpopular and probably gotten very poor ratings on rating pamphlets, I guess, at the time would have been how you would spread that information, although pretty much only the clergy could read, so you would often literally be preaching to the choir. What my script actually says is way better than what I said. It says anything other than American Christian metal would surely have suffered a lack of patronage and mostly scornful reviews on metal archives. Ye olde metal archives, of course. Now, during the time of inquisitions and witch trials in various parts of Europe, sporadically throughout several centuries, roughly between the 8th and 18th century, any practitioner of blasphemous, heretical, satanic lyrics or chord progressions would most definitely have been executed, or at least excommunicated and outlawed, banished from their hometown, country, priory, whatever. Now, this, however, is not the 8th century, nor is it any other up to and including the 18th. We are, in fact, as I hope you all know, in the 21st century. And public and clerical opinions on secular life have changed dramatically. Most notably, the fact that a secular life does exist. Here's an example that I think will actually surprise some people. The majority of Western Catholics, so from Western European countries, actually support, and this doesn't include people who are neutral, actually support same-sex marriages, legal same-sex marriages, not just like a civil union. An actual legal marriage is supported by the majority of Western Catholics. In the Netherlands, for example, 92% of Catholics who answered the survey are actively in favor of gay marriage, while in the United States, only 61% of American Catholics actually support gay marriage. Eastern Europe is a little bit behind, with 50% of Czech Catholics supporting gay marriage, but 90% of Ukrainian Catholics opposing gay marriage. Christianity is the world's largest religion currently, with Islam catching up quickly. But metal music is roughly the second most popular genre of music, if not probably tied with pop music. Those are both pop and metal, both very broad genres, but I think it's worth noting, I guess, when we're answering this particular question. So, in light of that particular information, excuse me if I find it hard to believe that there are no Christian metalheads. So, certainly in the case of Christianity, metal's most famous adversary, it's extremely unlikely that most religious Christians actually wouldn't listen to metal music on the basis of religious principle. Of course, just as that boundary between fun and heresy varies from individual to individual, so too will the subgenres that they personally accept as conducive to their practice as a religious individual. But it stands to reason that hypothetically you could be an actual nun or monk devoting your whole life to the faith and also enjoy listening to satanic black metal. And I mean, why not? Why couldn't you be a monk, a nun, or a priest and be human, enjoying pieces of art or music? I've seen nuns that are film critics. I've read their reviews of horror movies. As for the other two major Abrahamic religions, Judaism and Islam, whose beliefs and traditions are of course also featured and perverted in metal music, the same must surely apply. There are sects of Judaism which prefer to only sing the praises of God, and heresy has been punishable by death in Islam. Interestingly, within Islam there is some debate over the interpretation of the Prophet's words, whether or not music itself is a sin. One interpretation reads that all music, no matter why you're using it, no matter what it's being used for, whether it has lyrics or whether it's just instruments, all of that is haram. But the other side of that question is that the seemingly negative statement against musical instruments was actually directed at polytheists who frequently used their instruments to worship their multitude of gods. One sect of Islam, Sufism, actually uses music in its worship, much like Christianity does. So, as I mentioned, no religion is a monolith. There are many differing opinions within the religions, and individual to individual. Probably the most popular view is that music is fine as long as the lyrics are not obscene. Fun fact, in Iran, almost all music was actually banned from public radio and television from 1979 to 1989. But of course that ban has since been lifted. And today, Iranians have the opportunity to enjoy even Western pop music, although mostly it sounds like Iran pretty much plays Iranian music, surprise, surprise. So of course I researched, obviously. So on Quora I actually found someone had asked the question, is metal music haram? Which is pretty much what we're talking about in this video. And every single answer was, of course not. Which, I don't know if that reflects the greater community of Islam. I think it's probably an opinion held mostly by younger faithful. But the point is that there are many Muslims who are faithful and consider themselves to be Muslims, who listen to metal music, enjoy metal music, and even play metal music. In fact, down below I'm going to link a list of some of the most famous Islamic metal bands, and I highly recommend you check them out because some of them are really good. So we could synthesize that believers of both Islam and Christianity don't believe that listening to rebellious or obscene music is inherently a sin. Just as enjoying candy, which is physically damaging to your health, is not considered self-harm, unless you're like only eating candy all the time and just like bags of it. Obviously with Judaism, precisely the same applies. Faithful Jewish metal musicians, fans, and journalists are equally plentiful. So the satanic panic metal haters are actually a minority, especially in Western Europe and North America. A loud minority, perhaps, particularly in the United Kingdom and the United States, but a minority nonetheless. I do find it beautifully amusing to see musicians like Nicholas Kvarforth and Vargvikernes sweating and bleeding themselves silly to insult Judeo-Christian beliefs in every way they can think of, only to find that they haven't found a sore spot at all, and many Judeo-Christian individuals make up a portion of their album sales. My theory is they've either completely missed their mark or their enemies find their antics amusing or harmless. So, in conclusion, just as non-religious people can believe that rape and murder are wrong and support laws that prevent such activities, and yet still enjoy music and songs and poetry about rape and murder, so too can religious individuals enjoy music about rape and murder, and also devils, and naturally attacks on their own religion. Because it's music, it's art, it's fun, and people aren't one-dimensional puppets of some unified ideology. Everyone has their own preferences, and metal is awesome. The end. Morbid Sleep. Out.